Most of us know that homelessness is a problem in Las Vegas, but what can you actually do about it? Today on CityCast Las Vegas, we sit down with Brent Nowak, the engagement liaison for the Shine a Light Foundation, a local nonprofit that goes directly into Vegas's flood channels to meet people where they are and help them find a way out. Our executive producer, Layla Muhammad, who recently saw this work up close, also joins us. And we're asking the question, in a city with no shortage of resources, why are so many people still falling through the cracks? It's Thursday, May 7th. I'm Jesse Merrick, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Well, hey, it's the final 2 days of our spring campaign, and we want to shout out all of our listeners who have signed up recently. We see the support, and seriously, we appreciate all of you so much. We've been so adamant about pitching to all of you to join our CityCast Las Vegas Neighbors program because, look, it does help us grow and continue to provide you with great content day in and day out, but we also think you'll gain something from it as well, in addition to supporting us in this show. But you don't have to just take our word for it. Our neighbors say that they're getting a lot out of it as well, right, Layla?
Yeah, our new neighbor, Erin J, says that she loves Rob's newsletter. She says, I find activities upcoming to be informative. It is hard to find local events rather than overpriced events for tourists online. More importantly, we support local businesses. That perk she's probably talking about is our weekly events email that neighbors get to their email.
I love that perk because, look, this is a city like Vegas that has so much going on so many of the times. Rob is an interesting cat. He sorts through some of the best stuff out there to give you the ones that you actually want to go to. And that's obviously sometimes the hardest part, is finding an event that like actually seems like fun. And Rob does a great job of parsing through that.
Exactly. Even if you think you know everything about Las Vegas, it is still hard to find local events sometimes.
Yeah.
And Ron B, a new neighbor, has said he's tired of national non-local news and information. I believe in supporting the local community and our media. Thank you, Ron and Aaron, for joining us. And we can't wait to see you at the next Neighbors event.
Yes, shout out to Aaron J and Ron B. You can join both of them and become a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor today for just $10 a month. That's it. That's not that much at all. You can do so by going to membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. Thank you, all of you, for signing up too. We appreciate it. Hey, Brent, Layla, thank you guys for joining us. How you doing today?
Hey, Jesse. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Jesse.
Of course. Yeah. Let's dive right into it, Brent. Obviously, homelessness is one of those issues that is very hard for anybody to tackle here in Vegas, just like everywhere else it is. And I'm curious how Shine a Light is approaching, helping to solve this problem and do their part with it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We are more of a two-part organization where the first part, just like Layla understands, is we go out into the flood channels underneath the city every Saturday. And that's our grassroots true blue community outreach, where we connect with people living underground. We talk to them and build trust in hopes to offer them to the second part of our foundation, which is our long-term case management program. So we have a continuity case management program known as IPATH. So that's instant placement with access to treatment and housing. We are not of the idea that the housing first model works. It doesn't really get to the root cause of what's keeping people on the streets. And so if you just put somebody who's living unhoused in a home, there's still a multitude of issues that need to be addressed. And I think that that's the best part that I can explain what it is that we're trying to do with the human connection.
And so for the people listening, why do you particularly concentrate on the folks living down in the tunnels?
So it started 9 years ago when my executive director was living underground, and he found a pathway out and started going back on the weekends and connecting with his old friends who lived underground. And, every week it got a little bit bigger. And that just was kind of, our niche of, the places that we go. But we don't strictly focus on people who live underground. That is just one part of it. We will go where anybody is unhoused, homeless encampments throughout the city, down the railroad tracks. It's a very transient lifestyle, but that's a kind of a special thing to Las Vegas. Not everybody has underground flood channels. And, we estimate there's about 1,500 people living underground, and we don't want them to go unseen.
I wonder, Brent, if you can speak to why wouldn't a housing first approach work? Why don't you guys do housing first?
Well, we don't believe that you can reverse the effects of, years or even decades of homelessness and substance use disorder overnight. You can't solve a problem with one solution. There's a multitude of reasons why somebody might be living unhoused, and we have to address each and every one of those issues before you get to really be self-sustained on your own. So if I'm unhoused and I'm dealing with drugs and alcohol or mental health challenges, and you give me a housing first model and place me in it, I still have all of these challenges that I'm dealing with. I just am now dealing with them indoors.
And Shine a Light isn't just working with the community of people underground. It's working with people in encampments and on the street. But I wonder, what's the difference between people choosing to live above ground on the streets or in encampments versus underground in the tunnels?
I don't really think there's a one size fits all answer to that question. It's an individual choice. Some people feel a little safer underground, I would suppose. They built a network or a community, potentially family or friends who live underground, and it's just another option. At the end of the day, Layla, it's really all about survival and the best way to get through your day, and however you might choose to do that, maybe above ground, the option might be below ground.
Interesting. Yeah. And I am curious with the below ground, like you said, there are a number of reasons how people end up down there. What are some of the most common ones? You kind of dove into it a bit there, but that seems like something that's surprising for many people when they hear that there is such a large community. You said 1,500 people down there in the tunnels. What are some of the most common reasons people make it down there?
I can only speak to my own story from being unhoused. You don't go from having an apartment or a house or a place to live to living in the tunnels the next day. There's usually a series of unfortunate events. Maybe you end up staying with friends or family for a period of time. For me, it was my substance use disorder that brought me there. But there was different levels of homelessness. You're crashing on somebody's couch. You're living in maybe weekly motels, and then then it turns to the shelter, and that's too much of a struggle, and you end up on the streets, and from there you might end up underground. Everybody has their own unique story, and I really can't speak to the most common reason for people living underground. Again, it's just a series of events, whether fortunate or unfortunate, that gets them to a place where maybe that's the safe and comfortable option for them in that moment.
What are some of the struggles you guys encounter, though, when you're down there trying to, give people the lifeline to make their way out of the tunnels?
Well, truth be told, if I were to ask you to give up your entire life and to trust me and to leave everything that behind, but I can show you a better way of life if you just trust me. Take everything that and forget about it and come with me, and I'll show you a different pathway, even though you don't know where it leads. That's a challenge. It takes a little bit of time to cultivate a relationship with people and to to earn their trust in a way that when they are ready to accept help, we are here to offer it.
Yeah, and Brent, I think when we went on the tour through TEDx Las Vegas last Saturday, something that you highlighted was how anyone can end up in this scenario through one or two life events. And I'm not going to say any names, but we saw someone down there who was a teacher, moved to Vegas, got scammed out of their pension, and ended up stuck in Las Vegas in the tunnels. And so it just highlighted how this community of people could be anyone in our community. And anyone can find themselves in that situation through, one or two life events. And how we need to really, focus on those community members and finding all of these resources and pulling together all of these resources that Shine a Light is doing and creating the safety net. Brent, how many organizations does Shine a Light work with to create that safety net?
Usually at any given time, we have hundreds of participants spread out in different phases of their recovery in about 50 different organizations around town. I think it's really important to highlight the fact that, Shine a Light is just a case management program. What we do is we've identified all these amazing programs that are working within what you call and what we've deemed the safety net of Clark County. So they offer all this programming that focuses on each individual issue that one of our participants might face, right? And so we want to connect them to all these different programs. So when a client comes in and opts into our program, they usually touch anywhere between 8 and 15 different programs throughout the city to assess the needs that they have. And, without the partnership of these different organizations in town, we really wouldn't be as successful as we are. We are a true community project, and everyone in Las Vegas is the Shine a Light Foundation. That's how we look at it.
I wonder, as a follow-up, working in those, you speak about working in those silos, and there's so many great resources out there in Las Vegas. Are you hearing from anyone on the street or in the tunnels about what they need? And is it this case management program where you're walking them through, or is there something else in Las Vegas that is missing?
So I think that we tend to forget that just because somebody's living in a tunnel or unhoused and dealing with substance use disorder or mental health challenges, they're still part of our community. They still need a helping hand, whatever that looks like. Each and every one of us reaches out to, close personal friends of ours to help us through challenges in our life every single day. And we want to be the people that are there for the ones that don't have anyone to lean on. And so to answer your question, Layla, I think a lot of it really just has to do with the human connection, week after week, month after month, year over year, and ultimately hoping that they'll stick around for a lifetime, because human connection is a lot more undervalued than I think that it really needs to be. We don't talk about it enough. We don't talk about the need for friendship and community and connection. And I think that the programs that we are offering has all of that. I think that's what sets us apart. The needs in town really, I think that we do an amazing job. I don't think that we're working on a problem that we're going to be able to solve in our own lifetime. And that's okay. As long as we offer a ripple effect of kindness and compassion and human connection to the next person, I think that it will continue to change in a positive light. We are not a big city like LA or San Francisco or New York City, where we see the same type of challenges. For us, we all have the ability to step in and help the next person. When you invest in somebody who's struggling that lives in your own city, you're investing in the positive future of your own city and your children and your friends and your family and everything. We need to look at it from that regard.
Yeah, and it seems like your guys' superpower in all of this is building that real connection, with the people, particularly in the tunnels. So in terms of that, let's dive into what life is like down in the tunnels. Brent, can you paint a picture for our listeners about what things are like on a daily basis down there for the unhoused who are living in the tunnels?
Well, again, I think there's a level of safety and a level of comfortability for people who have found solace living underground. The elements here in the desert can be a struggle. It's 120 degrees in the summer. It gets very, very cold in the wintertime. And so the tunnel system offers some respite from the elements.
How much so? Sorry to jump in here.
I would say 10 degrees cooler, depending on where you are and depending on what tunnel system you're in. You have to see it for yourself, honestly. You can see the pictures on our website or the videos that people make with us. And it's a different story, as Layla will tell you. When you go underground and you smell it and you see and you interact with the people who live underground, it's a whole different experience. But I will say this much, people who live in the tunnels are some of the most ingenuous folks I've ever met in my entire life. They build these entire camps and communities out of maybe discarded rubbish from, the streets or whatever they find, or furniture that's donated, or wherever the case may be, wherever it comes from. And, they build their own level of comfort underground and what their needs might be. There, I'm sure, are some safety concerns, just like there are above ground in any city.
There are everywhere.
Right. It has nothing to do with underground or, the folks that are actually living in the tunnel system. That's really kind of a misconception. Some very wealthy neighborhoods in Las Vegas that experience crime on their own, and so I always try and remind people of that, when they speak to, how dangerous it might be living underground. It's dangerous everywhere. But again, we see a community of people who kind of look out for each other that are in the same situation. There is a hierarchy and a rule system, just like anywhere else. There are laws above ground and there are laws below ground. So.
Hey y'all, it's Layla Muhammad, executive producer at CityCast Las Vegas. We're in our spring membership campaign, and we have something really special for new neighbors who join over the next 2 weeks. You've probably seen Oxford pennants, felt wool pennants. They're kind of like flags on Instagram, or you might have seen them hanging at your favorite local spots. They're beautiful, American-made, and honestly, they're a great way to show off something that you're proud of. This spring, they made one just for us, for this city, as a celebration of everything we love about it. It's sand-colored, has our city name front and center, a Welcome to Las Vegas icon, and says, "I live here on purpose," because we do. These are handcrafted and designed specifically for CityCast Las Vegas, so you're not going to find these anywhere else. Hang it at home, at your office, or wherever you want to remind yourself and everyone else that you love this city with all of its quirks and delights, and you want to be a part of making it better. When you become a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor, you're also getting ad-free listening, invitations to members-only events, a curated weekly email, bonus content, ticket giveaways, and more. It's $10 a month or $100 a year, and it goes directly to supporting this show and the team of locals who make it. Join before May 8th to get the pennant at membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. That's membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. We'll see you around the neighborhood.
Hey there, Jesse popping back in to remind you that we're in the final days of our spring membership campaign. It's the final countdown. Now, you guys have heard us on the show pitching this to you day in and day out, and that is on purpose, not just because it helps support us, but also because we think there's great value in becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor. Not only do you get ad-free listening, bonus content, access to an awesome community, and our members-only events as well, but if you sign up by this Friday, you also get to take advantage of another great limited perk that is our Oxford pennant that's personalized for CityCast Las Vegas. This thing comes in a cool desert sand colorway. If you want to get a look at it, check us out on Instagram. We posted it up there. It says, "I live here on purpose." And I think it's so fitting that it says that, because those of you that live here in Las Vegas know that anytime you leave the city, you have to defend why you actually chose to live in Las Vegas. And so that's one of those things where you can proudly fly that flag because you're used to defending living here in this city, and you realize how great of a city it is. So fly that thing with pride. But again, you can only take advantage of that and get it if you sign up by this Friday, which is the final day of our spring membership campaign, and it'll only cost you $10 a month. The cost of these Oxford pennants usually runs anywhere from $30 to $80. So the monthly subscription covers the cost of the pennant alone right there. So it's a great deal. So if that did it for you and ready to sign up and join the rest of our neighbors, go check us out online at membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. In the meantime, though, let's dive back into the conversation. I guess with all of this too, Layla, this is where I want to bring you in, because you saw it firsthand. You've grown up here in Las Vegas. You knew about the tunnel system and the people living down there. What changed for you in terms of your perspective of the homelessness issue after going down there and seeing it all?
We did an episode in the past on CityCast Las Vegas where we talked about how we talk about the population living underground in the tunnels. And I think going down there and seeing it firsthand, it emphasized that this is a community of people. And anywhere you go, you're going to try to build a community. And that's what they're doing underground. And they were the nicest people. And I think one of the things that stood out to me was the trust that Shine a Light built with the unhoused population in the community in the tunnels, where they're going down there announcing themselves because you're entering someone's home, and asking, "Who's down here? How can we help? Can we give you supplies?" And also what Brent said, that they're making life work for them down there. There was a generator in a shopping cart that they were using to get power. But also, as we went deeper into the tunnels, like Brent said, the smell is something you'll never forget. And thinking about how if you don't have a flashlight, and if your flashlight dies and you're down there, even going through a mental health episode or just trying to navigate in the dark, jarring. You could trip on something that got washed in there without you knowing, even if you know where you're going. But I think one of the moments that stood out the most to me is when we walked through, and when you look up through the storm drain, you could see the Caesar's Palace advertisements. And thinking about, most of us have patronized casinos on the Strip, and thinking about what's below our feet in the population down there, and especially thinking about how Las Vegas is catering towards a wealthier customer, and where just the pockets of wealth and poverty that are literally right next to each other. And one of the questions that someone asked on the tour is that, how do you approach someone? And how do you go up and ask them if they need help? And I think I also want to say, this was a tour through Shine a Light, and to not just venture down there by yourselves. We see, the people trying to sensationalize it, and that's not the way to go. Those people aren't trying to go down there and offer help. They're just trying to, get a story and get clicks.
And what are the legal consequences of going down there if you try and go down on their own, Brent? Is there some, repercussions for that?
So I think technically you are, committing a misdemeanor. I believe it's trespassing, actually going into county property underground. But, I think really the danger comes from anywhere else where you go into, a community of people that you don't know, and your intentions are less than admirable. You might have a negative consequence. I'm not saying that to be gospel underground, but I just think that, if you were to come into a place where, people are living and they don't know you and they don't trust you, people are going to be a little standoffish to begin with. And then again, if you're trying to sensationalize or romanticize, a different way of living, people might take that the wrong way,
Yeah. No, so true. And that's the thing, is like it can be a harsh life down there for sure, and obviously in Vegas, we talked about the heat element of it, but monsoon season is a real thing here. When it rains down there in the tunnels, like, what is it like for the people that are living down there? Because that seems like it could be something that's very terrifying. We've all seen the videos of the water rushing through, down by the link and all over the strip and in many neighborhoods. I can only imagine what it's like down there.
And all that water is rushing right through the flood channels. I mean, listen, they do exactly what they were built to do. They help alleviate the flood water from our beautiful city, right? But the people that live underground, they are restarting every time it rains. Maybe some of their stuff they're able to put on a little bit of shelving, or they can build up with pallets. But for the most part, when we have heavy rains, people get flooded out, and everything that they can't take out with them that day, it gets washed away, and it's a restart, it's a rebuild. And, thankfully there are a lot of organizations that are here to help with, dryer clothing to get started with. We're not one of those places that makes it easier for you to be homeless. We want to offer the essential supplies that'll get you through your morning: a bottle of water, a clean pair of socks, hygiene, and, granola bars or something to eat. That's a starting point. Hey, we are here to help you if you're willing to come out. That is the fine line that we walk. We want to be the ones to let you know, hey, the water's coming, you guys, it'll be here soon. If you want to get out of here, we have a program for you to get into.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. And like you said, Brent, part of it is alerting people when water is coming. How is local law enforcement involved in that? And what resources are they devoting, to making sure people down there are safe as well in terms of clear outs and stuff like that?
Well, truth be told, Jesse, the folks that live underground, most of the people that I talk to, they're a better meteorologist than anybody you'll ever find.
Don't tell that to the local news folks, all right?
Yeah, they know when it's coming. They really do. I know there's some other county and city organizations that, they venture underground, and they, will kind of warn people when the bad weather is expected. But for the most part, it's just one of those things. Another piece of survival. You kind of know when the negative things are about to happen, and you look out for them, and then you just kind of communicate with each other, a lot of word of mouth and things like that. So
Gotcha. And we have seen at times too, though, just in terms of local law enforcement getting involved with the folks who are living down in the tunnels. Like, I think it was off of Flamingo and Maryland Parkway recently, where they had to clear some folks out for some construction going on over there. Like, what is that process like? And again, where do those people go when they are kicked out of the tunnels in that area specifically?
So, we see it happen from time to time, especially when there's special events on the strip, or, F1 or fireworks. 4th of July is coming up. I know that there's going to be some clearing out. And the fact is, it's, again, such a transient lifestyle that folks are used to picking up and moving on. And they just find another resource in town, whether it be a shelter or another encampment. And I know that can be frustrating for the residents who don't want to see more encampments popping up in their neighborhoods and the residential areas and things like that. The fact of the matter is, I think we're doing good. We are. Know that we can do better to offer people help. A lot of the times these folks have been through a lot of state-run institutions, and, they all look the same, man. They all have the same paint, the same furniture, and the same The folks that work there have been trained by the same organizations and so on and so forth. And so even if you're going into another state-run program or county-run program or city-run program, it seems like maybe the last one that you were in, right? Or it seems like the 5 or 10 that you've been in your lifetime. And, there could be some trauma behind that. We don't know what's happened to somebody, 10 years ago when they tried to accept help in a program, and they might be experiencing, some serious pain or a struggle from whatever happened to them before. I'm not saying that that's the answer to everybody's issue why they won't necessarily accept long-term help, but there's a piece of it. There's definitely a need for a little bit more of a one-on-one conversation and finding the root cause of, hey, why are you so comfortable here when there are X, Y, and Z options that we try and address, right? And I think it really starts there, on that human level, on a cellular level. Like, let's figure it out together.
And that's where I think it leads in perfectly to how I want to kind of close this and ask how people can get involved. Let's give people, some real action, orientation here of what they can do, because for your volunteers or just people that are listening to this that want to figure out how they can do their part, in helping move this issue along, what advice do you give them about approaching people, about creating those, real relationships, and how they can help do their part to support the unhoused?
Well, thank you for offering me the opportunity to let people know that, again, there's a ripple effect that happens when somebody's kind to you that you might not even necessarily see today. You might see it, in weeks, months, or years down the line. And so my suggestion to somebody would be, if you encounter somebody who's living unhoused on the streets, maybe has a mental health challenge or substance use disorder, take 5 extra minutes out of your day and start talking to them. Ask them questions if you feel comfortable enough to. Introduce yourself, find out, hey, how long have you been out here? Is there a barrier that maybe you're struggling with to get past? I don't know if any of you guys have ever tried to get an ID from the DMV without a phone or an address, right? And it could be a really big starting point. Like maybe, find an organization in town that helps with that. Educate yourself on the resources that are in the community that you live in. So if you encounter somebody that needs help, maybe you have an answer to the question that they're going to ask you, right? That extra 5 minutes of human kindness could really mean the difference between saving somebody's life or keeping them out there. I think that's a big part of it. For us, we are intentionally very informal. There's no need to pre-register, sign up to come and volunteer with us. We meet at our office every Wednesday at 4:00, where we pack the care packs to take out on Saturday. You can just come by and get involved. It's all ages. And then every Saturday morning, we meet at our office around 7:30, and that's when we go out into the community to do our outreach. So any given Saturday, there's probably anywhere from 40 to 60 volunteers here. We have team leads that have been out and they know the routes throughout the city. You show up, you sign a waiver, we connect you with a team lead, and you go out with different teams throughout the city and you connect with people.
Yeah, I love that. Layla, you did your part. Everybody can do something. So like Brent said, just come down, have that conversation and see how you can fit in with it. Brent, thank you so much for the time. This was really enlightening.
Thank you for the opportunity to kind of share our story on a larger platform. And, I just like to reiterate, we are a community project. So without the help from everybody out there in Las Vegas, there is no us. So please come out and get involved.
All right, that's all for us here today on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our free morning newsletter too. We'd also like to thank a couple of our new members, Ron B. and Bill T. Shout out to you for signing up. We appreciate you. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor yourself at membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Until then, though, take it easy.